let go of the things that are hurting me. And that question strikes a spot because I remember a time in my life where um, I okay, I let's just be transparent here. I can see a time where in my life where smoking weed every day was just killing me, like mentally, physically. My focus was off. Everything was. It's like my life was centered around weed after class, before class, when I get home. Um, Let me finish my homework really fast so I can go smoke with my friends. And all I could see was the high for like a couple hours that I got from it, and I really couldn't. And I would hide behind that, and I think it was really. I think I didn't it didn't take me a long time. I mean I think it took me a long time to stop and realize what I was doing to myself was wrong because I was scared of change, and I was scared. I knew I was powerful enough to overtake it, and but I was just scared of committing to a new norm in my life. I was scared of getting better, which kind of sucks. I'm scared to get better in my
Mm.
life. Um, yeah. Have you guys ever dealt with being scared to change yourself, or were acting ignorant to the fact that you need to change something about you?
Yeah. Well, first off, uh, thanks for sharing, for being so, transparent,
Yeah.
vulnerable. It's a lot, like for somebody to talk about something that they struggle with like that. um, yeah, but definitely, I've needed to change, like at several points in my life. I was talking with a couple of friends um, that were going with me through my biggest struggle in my life, I would say, or one of the biggest struggles. Um, I was just like very like, and I was telling Jared about this too. I was just very rigid in my thinking, and I still can be, like to this day. Like I would tend to make rules for myself
Mm-hmm.
and then apply that set of rules to like other people too. Like they should abide by it. Um, I wasn't able to really effectively look outside of myself and view myself and what I was doing. I was just in my head. And it took me, years and years and years and years and years to like be honest enough with myself to face that. Um, you know, and that's just like one wave, of like uh, you know, my life where like I've needed to change. But yeah, there are like plenty of other ones. Um, you know, what about you, Jared?
Yeah, man. I remember just realizing like, when I got out the military, like I had a lot of the military in me, and I was still communicating, friends, family, loved ones. Like I'm still in the military, which is that's like real. Everything's got to happen 10 seconds ago. Why are you moving so slow? It's way more aggressive, and also, doing that in relationships. I think that's probably the reasons why, a lot of relationships will kind of went sour quickly is because having that attitude. I had to learn that you know, it's a different world. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you're not going to be able to be in a relationship and try to be like a drill sergeant or a sergeant to run things like it's the military. I mean, it's not going to happen like that. So I had to realize like there's like a few things you can take out of the military to make you successful outside, and maybe that's all work related, but and maybe the schedule, but it doesn't really work. It's family and relationships. You got to be more forgiving. The in the military when they're upset with you, they might yell and scream, but that's not going to work for your loved ones. So I had to figure out a different way of communicating, and it took a long while. I mean, I really didn't pick it up until I think early last year, to be honest with you. And I was just like, okay, I made a mistake. I said something I didn't want to say, and I was like, oh, okay, I need to rethink, how I approach communicating things, because now, I'm about to really ruin something that I feel like is really good if I, keep, communicating this way, or communicating that or acting like everything has to happen in 5 seconds flat, So I had to, figure out different ways of doing things. Had to slow down, try to take my mindset off that. And then I know that, like, since sometimes I have that military mindset to keep moving and keep things moving and move quickly, sometimes maybe now I'll add more tasks for myself so that I'm not so focused on, how quick somebody else is moving around me or something like that. So I had to learn a lot of different things to the play off my mind so that I wouldn't keep doing it. Because, like, for the longest time, I didn't want to change anything from the military, because that was like my first adult success. Like, being in the military, being a successful career, being the fact that, I dropped out of college after like 2 or 3 years of just, gaining random credits. So it's just like, now going through the military, now I can do anything because I've done that. And then it's just like, you got to learn how to get rid of the things that don't work in your next environment. It's just a small adaptation for real.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty big too. I mean, like, to be able to, see that what you're doing is affecting, like, an important aspect of your life. Um, and then actually, turning from it, you know, uh, basically just the evolution of us, as individuals, you know. Um, I just think it's an interesting, like, phenomenon for real, because it's like, I'm not the same person I was, you know, uh, 5 years ago, and I guess, now that, like, you talking about it, Jared, it's like, yeah, I mean, you're a different person than you were 5 years ago, like, for real, you know? Um, so it's just interesting, like, actually being able to, look back, reflect, you know, over your life. And for you, Jacob, I mean, like, at your young, ripe age, to be able to do that, and then, like, actually pivot and do something, like, different that is better, you know, uh, that's a skill for real, slash a gift, you know.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, somebody might need to, like, revisit some things in their life, and so, like, if you've gone through that already, you can, like, become effective in, like, showing other people how to do that.
Yeah. Sometimes trying to help people from trying to help people you see that were once in your position, that are in a position that you were once in. Sometimes it can get quite frustrating because they don't want to admit and realize what they're doing is hurting them, hurting people around them, jeopardizing their future, their mental health. And I try to come out of it in love, in a way that Jesus would talk to somebody, but sometimes I just be wanting to just spaz on somebody, bro. Like, you don't see this, bro? Look at you, bro. You're acting stupid. That's not the way. Um, yeah, yeah. I think when everybody starts assessing themselves daily, we can live in a much better place.
Mhm.
Sure.
I think the key when you're helping somebody is like, or you're in your goal is to help a lot of people, is that you got to realize the success rate is different. So like normally, chess, when you're checking chess, maybe 70% is passing. But when you're really working with people who need help, it might be 10, 15%. Or you gotta realize how you count your wins,
Mhm.
because more people are gonna do the wrong thing than the right thing. And then when they actually do the right thing, that's a lot harder for them. That's a lot harder for someone to do. So when you do that, you gotta count it as success, and you can't really get swamped in the people who don't want to change.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. I was talking with somebody today who, at one point had, like a really rocky marriage. And, I guess, kind of like you, Jacob, it's like I saw things that like maybe they could tweak or whatever to, make the situation better. And, you know, it took a whole lot of patience, and like me not really telling them what to do for real, because sometimes we don't really know what's best for somebody, even if we do want to help. It's like, so sometimes I would just be like, yeah, I don't know. Because I don't know. It's like there are so many times where like I want to say something, like you just need to do this, or even in talking, like with my girlfriend, like, oh, well, you should just do this. But sometimes we just need to listen, you
Right,
know,
right.
because it's like a lot of times people will come out and like ask you for help, or you'll be able to better serve them, in a way, um, by just listening to like what they're saying,
Right,
um, you know, um, and sometimes too, like we don't ever know what somebody's going on in what's going on in somebody's life,
right.
or what they experienced, as children. Like I was talking with my mother today, and I was like honestly, mama, I was like, sometimes you kind of high strung. It's like, it's like my mama, she'll just get like real tense. She'll be talking and she'll like put her hands up and just be like, oh, ooh, 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 you know. And like when she does that, it kind of affects me. I'm just like, she getting all tense now about nothing, And so,
Right.
today I just like came out and said it, um, because me and like, my sister Jacqueline, like we'll talk about it sometimes too. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and just throw this out there because I want what's best for her, you know. And so, she ended up saying, thanks for the feedback, and just talking about how, I can, feel comfortable bringing anything to her. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, but I think a lot of that was just like shutting my mouth, because it's like, I don't want to be the person pointing the finger. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I think like, sometimes if we're not careful, we can end up being that. And, like then like nobody wants to be around somebody like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like with my mama, I was just like, well, I'm just gonna go for it because I had just like finished this seminar on like servant leadership, and like I had, like this great meeting, having all these great conversations, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, I know that I'm in a good headspace to just put this out there, where like she'll be able to receive it because I don't mean any harm at all, you know.
Yeah.
And I just think it was interesting. It was like an interesting topic, because she ended up opening up about, like her childhood, you know what I'm saying? And like, why she, thinks the way that she does. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I think sometimes, just like, listening to the people, is key.
That's what's up. Listening.
Yeah.
Listening. All right, yeah. The Bible says to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. I don't even have to explain it. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. When you're doing too much talking, you won't understand where somebody is coming from. You don't, or sometimes we don't want to understand where somebody's coming from because we listening for our we listening for them to stop talking so we can respond and not listening to understand people. Yeah, for sure. I think when we start listening, even if we don't agree with everybody, when we start listening to people, when we start listening to people, hmm, it would be better on both parties, honestly. Yeah, I was gonna bring up this topic, like overthinking. Like overthinking has played a significant role in my life. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just for the smallest things, like these smallest things, like even picking somewhere to eat, indecisive, overthinking just about the smallest thing. And I think that again, scripture, um, God has given us a spirit of um, power, love, and sound mind. When we don't have a sound mind, which is overthinking, when we start overthinking things and we start to get anxiety about things, that's just us. I don't know if you remember this, Nate, but that's us imagining a future without God. Um, and He gave us a sound. He gave us a sound mind for a reason. And when we don't use it, we go against His will. And it took me a while to realize that. I'm trying to limit myself to like 7 seconds of thought before I make a decision or something like that. Yeah,
That's dope.
yeah, that's all I have on that, man.
Yeah, so you was talking about overthinking and how I played in. And it's just like I think most people are prone to overthink something. It might not always be something that affects you. But I think a lot of times people get into, overthinking, where they should be in 10 to 15 years. I was always that kind of person. I'm always thinking about what I'm supposed to be doing in 20 to 15 years, 15, 20, 30 years, like how I'm going to get set up, how am I going to take care of my mom when she gets to a certain age, how am I going to take care of my dad when she's 50 years old. And I was thinking about this stuff in my 20s because I was always like wanting to be there and be able to, stand up when I was needed, and then not realizing, while I'm thinking about all this, I'm not enjoying the right now. So a lot of times in my 20s, when I could have been, traveling, doing a lot of other things, I'm not enjoying the right now because I'm still like, okay, in 10 years, I got to do this. In 15 years, I got to do this. In 20 years, I got to do that. And it's a lot better now because I can balance it out where I can put a little bit of money away for 20 years from now or 15 years from now, but I can also enjoy where I'm at right now with the stuff that I'm doing. And sometimes that might ebb and flow based on where you're at financially or just how you save your money, because it's really not about how much money you make, but it's how much money you save. So if you can manage your money, you can have this a lot earlier. But I wasn't always the greatest, managing money. So now that I'm in a better place, it's easier for me to enjoy both because I'm not trying to just do a whole bunch of extra stuff for money and not going on the trips and not having the family events that I used to have. I mean, that I have. Because I remember it was, times where I might have flew to Texas 4 times in a year. And it's like, if I would just flew to Texas 1 time or 2 times, then I might have been able to go out of the country to, experience things, have a little fun. So it's just like a lot of times when you overthink things, you kind of miss out in the interim because you're planning for something that is going to work itself out in the first anyway.
Yeah, that's dope. While you overthinking, you could have had millions of things done.
Exactly.
But you sitting there overthinking.
Whole
And
time, like me and Nate used to go to the club a lot, and I would always be like, "Yo, man, you want to go to the club?" And I'd spend a lot of money on drinks alone, maybe just like $80 to $100, right? And it's just like if you take that, you know, every weekend out and you plan stuff ahead of time, it's like you can do things that you want to do that are gonna last and you are gonna be more memorable. Because I remember I was talking to my fiance the other day, and she was talking about she's been going on trips for years, and I was like making excuses why I thought I couldn't, why I couldn't go on trips, and then I was like, well, maybe if I didn't go to the club as much and kind of
Mhm.
save for something better, it's like, oh well, if I would have tried to plan it ahead, and the ticket's only $300 or $400, I could have did it. But it was like, I didn't have a plan. I didn't plan ahead. I didn't save the money. Going out every week, I could have went out once a month, like or something like that. But I was just so used to moving at a fast pace, and a lot of times, if I would have slowed down, thought about it a little bit more, had a clear mind, I would have been better off.
yeah, yeah. That's like we think. Wait, hold up. Y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
All right. That's like we think too fast about things. We don't give ourselves enough patience. We don't give ourselves enough time to process things the way we should. We just jump on impulse sometimes. This has nothing to do with the topic, but yeah. So I'm teaching myself how to play. Well, I'm not teaching myself. I'm learning on YouTube, and today I realized that most of my life, I mean, I had a sticky note about it. Um, Most of my life, I didn't give myself time to properly learn things. Um, I didn't give myself time to trust the process because I always wanted things done. I wanted to learn something like this. I wanted to learn about it in the night. If I didn't learn it by the time I went to sleep, what was the use of it? Motivation is gonna be gone. Um, and right now I'm just trying to I'm keep telling myself, you're not gonna learn how to play. You're certainly not gonna learn how to play the piano overnight. So this is one of those times where you gotta just trust the process and trust that what you're doing is right, and give yourself time to learn. You don't have to learn everything overnight. You don't have to know everything piano by tomorrow. Like it doesn't work like that. Um, yeah, that's really all I had to say. Um, just trust yourself, trust the process. Don't rush yourself. Do not rush yourself.
Yeah. I was, in that seminar today, about servant leadership. And that was one of the topics, that they went into was development of people.
Hmm.
And, one of the key points that, I kind of made for myself to remember was to be patient with people in their processes. I think sometimes we might kind of like compartmentalize the people that we know. Like, okay, these are the people that I know from school. These are the people that I know from my job. These are the people that I know from my church. But it's like, even though people, I think sometimes people wear different hats depending on where they are.
Yeah.
So you might only be meeting like, you know, a work person, or but at home there's somebody else. Or you might know somebody from church who is a certain way at church, but then they go home and there's somebody else. Um, and so it's like a lot of times I think that we're facing a representation of a person and not really themselves. And so, you know, we do have to be patient, you know, in those types of scenarios. And then I thought too, I think that that's kind of how we are with ourselves. It's like, yeah, we need to be patient with ourselves too as we growing. You know what I'm saying? Like everything's not going to be, you know, perfect. Yeah, it's not going to be, you know, overnight. Um, you know, and I like how you talked about trust. You know what I'm saying? It is a trust thing. Like honestly, like that takes a lot of balls to be able to do that for real, because it's like it's almost easier to just say, no, I'm not going to do it, and then just continue to focus on what you're doing right now. But to like take a big leap, you know, and actually plunge into something that you ain't never done before, dude, like that's major, you know. Um, you know, I know for me, you know, I've been doing a lot of like just movements around the house and like, you know, walking, jogging, outside, you know, playing tennis and like just doing like kind of like a mixture of everything I picked up, you know, from, you know, like martial arts, you know, dance, football, um, you know, basketball, track, all these elements. And it's like I just like incorporated it into my life and like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And you know, like I'm doing something new every day. Like I'm doing like like I'm doing a movement with my body that it's never done before, you know? And that's like it does take a lot of trust, because I think we want to stick to what we know. Like we would rather stick to what we've been doing and, you know, like try to muster up some confidence about that. But when you start like doing new stuff, you know, that's when like your brain starts changing for the better, because you're activating parts of your brain that, you know, probably haven't been used before, or at least not to the extent that you're using them for, you know?
Yeah.
So I just think that that's like, that's one of those tools that God gives us, man. Like God loves us so much. You know, it's like sometimes if we can just lay down ourselves and trust him, like he'd be knocking our socks off.
Shoot. Back to what you were saying, Jacob, about you know, being patient with yourself to learn, because you know, you were trying to learn everything, and you know, if you didn't know it by the night, I can really relate to that because you know, when I was younger, and it's surprising that you picked it up at such a young age, because it took me a while to actually get that. So it's crazy how advanced you are for your age, and you probably don't look at it like that, but that's dope. But anyway, I remember when I was younger, if I couldn't pick it up really quickly, then I'd forget about it. Like I remember trying a lot of different things, whether it was, you know, mathematics or, you know, what was it, learning Spanish or something like that. I eventually, you know, back when I was younger, I wouldn't, you know, keep trying if I failed it after a certain amount of time. They'd be like, okay, I did it once, it seemed a little too hard, or I couldn't figure it out by a certain amount of time. I need to go on to something else. But now, you know, after, you know, especially the military too, help you like learn through stuff. It's like the harder stuff take longer to get. You know what I'm saying? It's like you figure out how to do it over time, but it's worthwhile and it pays off. So I mean, I think, you know, just recently I got into, you know, reselling shoes like Jordans and stuff like that. I was watching YouTube for 10 days, probably straight, for a certain amount of time, 30 minutes a day, XYZ, just to learn how to, you know, resell shoes. And it took a long time, but when these things started to click, it really helped out. And another thing I think I was looking at was just like how to market Instagrams, YouTubes, and all that stuff. And like every maybe 10 videos, I get something that's helping me move forward. Like it might not pay off now, but in the future it will.
Yeah. Yeah, you dang. And honestly, that's why I think that I'm just well, it's probably not true, but honestly, that's why I think that I only sometimes I think I only have music as like a career plan in my life because that's the only thing that I would trust myself to focus on. Because when I tried everything from the stock market to drop shipping to trying to learn how to uh, make like these websites um, to learning how to even learning how to build my profile on Instagram. And just after a while, when things wasn't clicking and things wasn't happening, I'd just be like, maybe it's not for me right now, you know. And it was just my lack of motivation to do it. Yeah.
That's funny you said that because I think I might have tried at least a lot of them. Besides that, the only thing I haven't really, gotten super into is like I do the stock market, but I don't like, I'm not like high risk with it, or I haven't done day trading or options or anything like that. But it's just,
Oh yeah.
it's amazing that you've already gotten into that and see how it goes. But what I realize is like there's no shortcut. Like everybody who advertises it to you always shows you the shortcut, or always shows you, okay, I started this XYZ amount of time ago and I'm here. They don't tell you about, okay, I had to do a YouTube, an Instagram, a TikTok, and a Facebook. And then I was on them every day. And then I posted every day on all of them and
Mhm.
XYZ. Like that's a lot of work. And a lot of people are gonna see the work it takes and they're gonna stop. Or it's, when you're on YouTube, you make a video and you get like 5 views, 2 views, 1 view, no view. A lot of
Mhm.
times that'll make people want to quit. But I guess if you believe in what you're doing, you just got to keep going because really nobody blows up overnight. It's just like over time something happens. And I watch a lot
Yeah.
of videos about people saying, you know, 50 videos later and 5 months later, my YouTube blow up. Oh, 50 songs later, my SoundCloud blows up. It's
Mhm.
like anybody could be anything, but it's like if you give up, it's over. And like the funny thing is with all those businesses, I've been able to make some money, but then I realized it's not worth the time. Like some of the things aren't worth the time because there's like a time money ratio. If I'm gonna spend another 5, 6 hours after I get off work every day to do it, to me it doesn't really make sense because what I'm doing in my part time, if I ever want it to be my job, it's gonna have to be more. It's gonna have to have the ability to make more money than my job does. So it's
Yeah.
just like I always see like, okay, if I had to spend 5 weeks to get one website sale and it was $200-300, it didn't work. Like it might work for somebody else, but maybe my team and my plan wasn't right, and maybe that work doesn't work for me because maybe the customer relation thing wasn't like my strong suit. But I do realize, there's other things that I've done where it's like, okay, this makes more money on the time. And, once you realize the work it takes, and once you're committed, and once you find your right avenue, you can max out a lot of things.
Yeah. I often sometimes I think, and it's not weird, but it's like I wonder what like these. I wonder what type of like. mm, Let's just take like J Cole for instance. I wonder what type of like motivation and dedication he had to keep excelling in his craft and to keep going That's I just I admire his work ethic.
I
Yeah.
think somebody like him, they have the grind in them and they just keep grinding because it's just like, out of all the big name rappers,
Mhm.
I think J. Cole has one of the strongest bases of people who, like, when they started with them, they're still with him. Like a
Mhm.
lot of people, style changed or whatnot, but J. Cole still has his day one fans and, the people who come on a little bit later. But I just think I hear a lot of people that they want to get into music. Like I have, a little cousin, I think he wants to get into music. My dad's been trying to get into music for a long time. And it's just like most people who think about music, they think about the person who got rich or 50 Cent, and they're like, or Lil Wayne, and they see how they see the success, or they see their success gaining, but they don't see the work ethic. So they don't realize how hard it has to be to drop a mixtape 8 times in a year or 12 times in a year. I mean, back in like prime 2009, Lil Wayne was dropping a record like every 2, 3 months. You know what I mean? And
Right.
people aren't doing that. And it's just, you have to have the workout ethic in whatever you do. Because if you have no work ethic, even if you have a college degree and a good degree, you're just going to be the bare minimum of whatever you become. So it's just like once you understand the work ethic it takes to be successful in anything, you can transfer it into whatever you want to be. Really,
Yeah, fam. The work ethic, man. That's inspiring. I need. I'm trying to get my work ethic up, like as we speak. I feel like unless there's not one moment where I shouldn't be trying to work unless I'm like it's break time or something. There shouldn't be a moment where I'm just sitting around idle, just doing nothing, or just scrolling on Instagram, watching YouTube or something. I feel like I could always be doing something towards my craft or my business. Or
and that was the second topic we was gonna get into, and
mm,
that was having a schedule. Because like you, I procrastinate so much.
mm,
Just saying I can't work out, I couldn't do this or do that. And really, when you schedule things out, it was never a problem. Like I realized, if I try to work out after work, then
mm,
9 times out of 10, it's going to be harder for me because all the time you're in the military, you worked out early in the morning. So if I know I get it out the way early in the morning, then I work out and I'm fine. So tomorrow I wake up 6 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym, and I'll be good the rest of the day. But what happens is like I go to work, have a long day, come home a little bit later, 6, 7 o'clock. Then it's you try to do a workout, but then you're already eating because you're hungry. Now you got to wait another hour, and then next thing you know, you're going to bed. So
mm,
what I realized is once you put the schedule together, then you
yeah,
can do everything you want to do or feel more accomplished. Because when you're not doing anything, you won't do anything, and then you'll spend 6 to 8 hours doing something. But if you planned it out and you did like an hour a day, or let's say your thing is you're trying to do social media, if you get on the planning app or you go on Facebook Creator Studio, you can plan out for the whole week. So then it's not the big headache. For a long time, the social media was a headache for me because I was supposed to have to come out with times to post every day. Might be at work, and I'm trying to stop and you know post to Instagram or post to TikTok or something, and it was just like it becomes a headache. But when you have it scheduled for the whole week, it's like if I don't do a story today or something else, it takes a whole lot of you know workload off of me. And another thing I was doing is I was doing the sneaker thing, and in the
mhm,
sneaker thing, I was watching the app all day, and so I was like, you know what, I need to find a different way to do it. So let me schedule this different so that it doesn't take up all my time with my family. So I think a lot of people aren't getting as much as they want out of things because
mhm.
they're not scheduling it out. It's just like I'm doing the fly by night and then things get pushed back because you know how other people can be with time, and you can be with time sometimes. And it's just like if you're a procrastinator a little bit, then that time just gets lost.
Right. For real. And I think it's all about, setting that schedule, fitting it to you. Um, for real. Wish I had more to talk about on that. But we here now. Might as well get into it. A schedule, man. I think for me, like when I would just wake up and just go along with the day, just not knowing what I would do next, that was probably like um, probably some of the worst days. Um, even down to the feeling, I just feel like really like dull, drowsy, because I just don't know what I would do next. But yeah, with that schedule, like I get up and work out every morning because I know for sure I ain't gonna do it later. Um, and it makes me like even working out in the morning it gives me that motivation. Like, dang, I already did that. Like homework ain't nothing. Yeah, it just gives you the confidence to keep going because you know you got something. You always got something to do. It doesn't when you have a schedule. It doesn't give you it doesn't give you time to just lollygag and sit around, depending on what you put on your schedule. You know? Yeah.
It makes you feel like you have more time in the day. Because a lot of times you think you don't have time, but if you think you don't have time, get a planner, start planning out your day and times to do it. Guarantee you, you have way more time in your day.
Yeah, but this where most people's time go right here, and they don't even know it. You were supposed to be on Instagram for 10 minutes, hour and some change. Man. Yeah. Y'all go watch the Social Dilemma on Netflix, man.
Oh yeah,
Y'all go watch that, man.
that was a good one though.
Yeah, it's the one with Mark Zuckerberg, right? Or about Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah,
Somewhere.
yeah, something.
Got you. The whole like Facebook thing and all that.
All social media. No, that's the Social Network.
Oh.
We're talking about the Social Dilemma, which is a documentary about social media and how it ruins your life, and it takes over your life, and it makes you never want to get off of it. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Wow. You know how you be talking about lawnmowers, and then you get on your phone and there's lawnmower ads. You thought that was just a coinkydink? Nah, fam. They're trying to keep you on there, fam.
Man.
Keep you on there, fam. They watch what you watch, and then all the recommended videos is stuff that they think you gonna like, and that's what keeps you on social media, which is crazy.
That is crazy, man.
I was gonna ask something stupid, but never mind. Yeah.
It's like, what is that?
Did I cut you off, man? My bad. Please go.
No, I was gonna ask you if your phone had a vibration, because then I could tell you about the vibration thing. It was a bad joke. We could just move on. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was bad.
Yo, I mean, I usually just listen to people talk about social media. I'm past the point because honestly, like I used to kind of like judge people, but nowadays I just be like, I'm just listening because I think like you're saying into the whole schedule thing, I do think that there are people who schedule time in their days to do social media and they stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
But usually it's after they've already like, you know, let it take up too much of their life. You know what I'm saying? I guess it's like maybe it's harder to like start with the schedule and then actually stick to it. It's almost like people always like mess up with social media, like, and then they'll start to like back off of it, at least for a time. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like it's really hard for social media to not take over a part of your life that like you don't want it to. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that social media is bad. I think it's like you're saying, it's the advertisers and it's the people who made the app and what their motive was. Because, you know, that's what I be telling my daughter. I'm like, you got to think about the motive of these people, you know, which is to make money. Money
Right.
itself is not evil, but money is the root of all kinds of evil. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we got to be watching out. We got to be watching out for that. You know what I'm saying? So I think like if you're, you know, like using social media and you know exactly why you're using it, you know, I think, you know, Jerry, I think you're a good example of that. It's like in the times that you've been really big into social media, it's like you're doing it with a purpose, like specifically, and then you go straight to business with that purpose. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, and I think that when you go into it with that mindset, you don't see it as like a reality, or you don't see it as like an escape from your reality,
Yeah.
you know? And so I think that there are like healthy ways to enjoy social media. Um, Maybe it's just something that, you know, people have a really difficult time with. You know, I think that, and there definitely was a time in my life when I knew that I was doing too much social media and I was putting too much emphasis on it, you know, and then I got off, you know, and then I went back and I was like, nope, still like, no, you know, for a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's like, for the most part, I completely like stay off. But at the same time, I can't really like knock people for being on it because like people have different, you know, ways of handling it. You know what I'm saying? That like are legit, but it's a lot of people who I think get sucked in, you know, and they just like keep on going down the hole, you know? Um, yeah, it's just always interesting. I just be listening.
Yeah, man. Social media, um, studies show that social media things like Instagram and YouTube, um, they release dopamine in your system because it instantly gratifies you. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, I think that's a crazy statistic, and I really want to see the. It would be nice if they, you know, made that evidence available for the public. I mean, like the actual numbers. Maybe it is available.
Uh huh.
Seems I would
Yeah.
like to see the numbers.
You want to see the numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in random stuff like that, man. I want to see like percentages, what what they're really like the nitty gritty. Because a lot of times, you know, companies do the studies, and then you only get wind of part of the study, or you only get a portion, or you only get the news only reports what pops to the, you know, general public, and then that's what you think. Because like if you look back over time, what they've said about things have changed a lot. I mean, you got to think this is a country where you could give people lobotomies at one point. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like you gotta, like, always take things with a grain of salt. I mean, not saying that. I mean, there's trusted sources, of course, but I'm just saying, you know, I never kind of. I want to hear the whole story of the picture because the media, they're just trying to get you drawn in anyway, and I like the facts on that stuff. But I do think, you know, a lot of people do get addicted to social media. I think Nate, you made a good point. You said, you know, it wasn't for you. And that's a lot of people are still doing it and it's not for them. Like if it's not for you, don't do it. You know what I'm saying? But if it is for you, like different things work out for different people. So if you feel like social media is making you feel depressed, if you feel like it's messing up your day or taking up your life, then turn it off. But the thing is, what people don't realize is TV programming has been doing the same thing before social media. Social media just they took it to the next level, of course. But it hasn't been something that's like completely new. So
Mhm.
what people don't really realize is you can turn your cellular data off on Facebook, Instagram, or whatnot for however long, and they can't record your data. You won't be even if you open the app, nothing will return, so you won't be drawn to Facebook. So it's just like you can do little things like that to get off. I don't stay on social media every day all day. I like to take breaks because really social media to me is like exhausting because it's not like human interaction. I don't understand social media like I understand human interaction sometimes. So it just like throws me off. Like I know how to interact with people in person, but it's just like social media as like my first inception to social media was I thought like everybody on the other line was fake. And my first, you know, installation of internet, first time seeing the internet, that was when they had the chat groups and people would just chat and say something and you say something back. And I
Yeah.
just be in there trolling because I thought it was funny because people would get mad and like they can't see your face and they can't see like you didn't even have a picture up. So I just thought it was dumb. So like I never really took social media serious. So it's like now I'm trying to take it serious. It's like awful. And then I realized, you have to be more I feel like groupie-ish. That's like the best word I could come with. But like, you gotta reach out to people to to say, hey, what's up, and all that stuff that you wouldn't necessarily do. Like I would normally talk to people, but it's like on the internet, it just seems weird. You know what I mean? Like if we're in
Man,
person, it's cool, but over the internet, it's super weird to me. But
man, I think social media has really made people antisocial, bro. Like you can DM somebody a million times, but like talking in person, people act like they don't know what that is. I'm just like, I wish we lived in a world where hmm, I'm gonna tread lightly when I say this, but sometimes I wish there was no social media. Honestly, I want to get what y'all experienced back in the day, like just having to pull up people's houses and talk and actually talk. And I've been to people's houses where we just sat on our phones. I'm, I'm just like, what is going on? Is this where we live? This is where we live now. This is trash. Um, but yeah, man, I wanted to touch on the subject that you had talked about. You had talked about people getting depressed because of Instagram and like causing mental health problems. And I think that's really like from people seeing all of these people who are who are rich and successful, and you only see them posting the highlights and the houses and the cars, and they're not posting the work. So then you go and you like, oh, I want to be like that. So you go do it. You try it out for a day or two, and then you don't see results, and then you just give up, and you just mad. I think I think sometimes social media portrays false hope, and uh and yeah,
damn.
social media causes false hope, and it's like literally social media is for the glitz and the glamour, and you never see the hard work put behind it, and that's what gets people confused, and that's what J. Cole said it best. Some people make millions and some people make memes, but it is what it is, man.
And then you made a really good point about that. It's like a lot of people don't understand that there's a lot of people on Instagram who are faking it, like faking like they're really doing something. They might really only be making a couple $1,000s a month and that's it. And they on there looking like they balling because they're just really good with the camera, or they're really good with the backdrops, and they're
Yeah.
really good at being at the right place at the right time. But they ain't spending no money. And you from the outside looking in are like, oh my goodness, they're doing amazing stuff. And then, but that's all to attract a brand. Even if you were a store, you would have to do the same thing. And I mean, the people are smart for doing it, but I think, you know, what does it do to the youth? What does it do to people who, you know, if you're about 20, 22, and you see somebody on Instagram that's 24 and they got $1 million or $5 million, you think you're gonna have to have $5 million, which is not bad to have high hopes, but it's bad when you think that's your reality. That's the exception to the rule. So there's always like somebody who can make things go further, and there's always like the middle of the pack and the bottom. You have to see where you fit wherever that is. You might be a career guy and you might be able to make it to the top of the pack, but you're trying to be, you know, a YouTuber. You might be, you know, a YouTuber, but you're trying to be a career guy and you're bottom of the pack. So you got to kind of figure it out, balance it out, and kind of make it work. But like you said, you got to do what works for you on that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that, before social media, um, I mean, life kind of sucked a little bit. I mean, I don't think it was like um, an era where everybody was just like, oh, this is awesome. Life is awesome now in American history.
Hmm.
We enjoy going over each other's houses and like talking on the phone and going to pay phones. I don't think it was really like that, but I guess like looking back on it, I do think that there were some things we were learning by the type of interactions that we were having with one another.
Hmm.
And I think that like people will always find a way to be false if they're false people.
Hmm.
So it's like even in, like going to somebody's house, just because you're having like that physical interaction with people, that doesn't necessarily like mean that they're being genuine. You know what I'm saying? So, like there would be people's houses that like I would go over where it might be a little, like a little pretentious. You know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to appear like they have a lot of money.
Mm.
Everything's perfect. There's no like dirt on the ground at all. There's like, you know what I'm saying? Well, I mean, there probably is not dirt on the ground in most people's houses, but like everything's got its place and everything's perfect and spotless.
Yeah.
And then there were, like houses, where it was much more down to earth and like, the furniture wasn't new or anything. Um, it wasn't like designer stuff in there. The colors didn't always coordinate, but it's just like it was comfortable.
Yeah, but you felt at home there.
Yeah, you felt at home, like, this is nice, you know. So I think that, that type of essence is actually still around.
Hmm.
Um like I can't really like speak for like the younger generations per se. But I think you're probably right. I mean, I do think that it has kind of caused the ability to step away from reality and then create your own reality in a sphere that, like tons of other people are a part of that you would normally interact with, you
Hmm.
know. And so yeah, it definitely like can create, like delusionment, for people. Um, I think that that was like harmful, like to me, and like to some degree, I was that person who was trying to create myself to appear a certain way. So when I was on social media, I was still doing that, you know, and so it sounds like people are still doing it. And then too, when you bring in branding with it, I remember when the concept of like branding, became really big. You know, and at first it was more about like business, you know, like branding your business. And then it became more like, well, I'm gonna brand myself and then I'll sell myself, you know. And so because the concept was so new, there were people out there, you know, quote unquote branding themselves, but they didn't have the expertise to back up what they were presenting themselves to be, you know. So, you know, that kind of like threw me off. And I saw that a lot. And I thought that was so weird that we felt like we had to like sell ourselves. I think a lot of that has to do with career. Because when we were taught about like how to be successful in our careers, it's like you had to package yourself in a certain way in order to be received by whatever industry you wanted to go into. So like this whole time, we over here learning, we're like, okay, you know, I need to, you know, do this to be professional. I need to have this degree. You know, I need to hang around these people. I need to network. Network was big, you know, make sure you network. You know, so it's like, you know, we were taught to like get to know people so that we could get ahead, basically, so that we could get ahead in our field.
Right.
You know, and I remember thinking, I'm just like, all this stuff seems really impersonal, you know, and I was actually like kind of against it. But then I saw that there were some people who were heartfelt, you know, and, you know, they would, you know, be big into branding or they would network, but they would do it, you know, like with the right attitude, the right spirit, you know, so it can be done. But I think like within social media, it makes it so easy. It makes it so easy to package yourself because you're not even just doing it in person. You're probably doing it in person physically and on social media. So it just kind of like heightens that sense of, you know, creating a false reality.
Mm.
I think before social media, there was some good things, but I don't think. I think there's still like enough good things to kind of match it. I think before social media, things were a little bit slower in a good way, meaning when you don't have 24-hour media, then you have a lot more people with more genuine opinions. There's not a lot of you know conversations you can't have because even though your different opinions are like so different, it wasn't like it was the end of the world. Where right now it seems like you know if one person is a Democrat or a Republican, you might not even be able to talk anymore. Based on the way the world is going now. But I mean, back in the day, that didn't really matter as much. It was a lot harder to communicate with people sometimes, like because you had to have a quarter phone, you had to either go to the payphone. Sometimes you couldn't get in touch with people, so I think um, you had to be more on a schedule, I guess, like we were saying earlier, because if you miss your bus, you might not know when the next bus is coming because you don't have the phone to look up the times, and the times change, or
Yeah.
if you're not outside at a certain time and somebody's picking you up from somewhere, they might just leave, and you have to figure another way out. And you might have to go all the way back inside the building, and it's just. But at the same time, I think in that time frame, you know, it was much better for middle class in the 90s, I would say, and maybe early 2000s, because there were things like Hollywood Video where, not everybody went to the movie theater, but Hollywood Video was almost like your home movie theater. Because, if you had a VCR or you had a disc player, you still check out the popcorn and you check out, get your candy when you're walking out. And that was a big event, for a lot of people. But now, since you have Netflix and all that, that kind of gets rid of those slower things that you still had a good time with, because maybe not, you don't do movie nights anymore. Like you had to schedule things out because back then your TV show only came on one day. You didn't watch TV like every single day like they do now. Like, my daughter watches set programming every day, my oldest daughter. But, back then It was like the show you like might come on Thursday. So it gave you more time to go outside, be more productive. If you wanted to meet people, you had to go find them. It wasn't like they were gonna be right in your face. So it's good and bad, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's just important to know that there are like different forms of communication, and then, just recognize, the goods and bads of each one, honestly, you know what I mean? Because I don't think, social media is bad
Mhm.
for real in and of itself. I mean, the way that maybe the majority of people use it, can lead to bad things. But, overall, maybe it in and of itself is not bad. It's just the way that we've, like responded to it. Maybe we need to rethink, some things. I do think that I prefer like old fashioned communication more than the average person my age and younger, probably. I was talking to my cousin up in Cleveland. She was like, "You and your sister are the only ones who like don't have Facebook." You know, yeah. So it's like me, one of my sisters, and then one of my really good friends. Like no Facebook, and for me, that gives me like great peace because it makes me really take advantage of the forms of communication that I have chosen to use: text, phone call,
Mhm.
um, maybe email, you know, and I enjoy it, you know. Will I pick up some social media one day? Maybe. I'm not like completely against it, but I just really enjoy like having like, I think of it as like meaty. Like I like meaty like interactions with people. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
I like the fact that when I text somebody that it's probably going to be a little more special than a Facebook post because I've thought through who I want to send a text to and why. I've thought about the, and honestly, like if I text somebody, then like that means I'm praying for you. Like there have been so many times where I've prayed for somebody and then I'll be like, why don't I just like reach out to them? You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And I think that like Facebook or other social media kind of like take that away. I mean, I guess you do have, like DMs, but I find it to be really easy. I think like social media makes it really easy to interact with people. And sometimes maybe that's good. But
Uh-huh.
sometimes I like to know that someone actually went through a thought process before they contacted me.
Mhm.
And, if I haven't like known somebody in 14, 15 years and they call me, that's way different from like a post on social media from somebody I ain't talked to in 15 years.
Yeah.
I, for some reason, like I would rather have that. Um,
Yeah. Sometimes I think that social media, like, it's easy for you to just text someone and then when it don't go your way, just block them at it. Just block them and never have to worry about it again. Like it's just really too easy to block all your problems. If y'all understand that, um,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think I see what you're saying. Kind of like, if you don't want somebody out of your life, in reality, or even in the spiritual realm, it's not as easy as blocking somebody.
right.
You know what I mean? Because it's like you can block somebody, but then, you know, like you still thinking about them, you know, 6 months later, because you haven't cut the ties, you know, like spiritually or whatever.
Yeah.
But before social media, when we were like interacting with each other more in person, because we live in the same place, you know, like locally, you
Yeah.
know, you it's almost like you kind of couldn't cut people off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You
Because it's
have,
like you go see them
like you have to act cordial.
or something. Yeah, you
He
gonna
made
have
a
to
good
like
point.
do something, huh?
He made a real good point because it's like he said, act cordial, and there's some people who act out of character, say things out of character, just because they're on social media and they feel like they're never gonna run into somebody, and
Right.
that's a real good point.
Right. 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 Social media, it has its flaws, has its has its pros, and then it's just got its flaws. Like man, we could talk about this all day. I feel like I feel like, and I think I'm growing out of this now, but I used to feel like I spent so much time on social media, talking to people on social media, that I didn't know how to start a conversation with someone in person. And I would just, it'd just be awkward, just be sitting there going blank. I didn't know how to talk to adults because they knew how to start conversation, talk about stuff. Oh, how's this? And they knew how to segue into stuff. And I just be sitting there, just like, all right, this is awkward. I'll leave. And yeah, for sure.
You know
I'm
what's?
what's
Oh,
up?
sorry, my bad. I thought you
Go ahead.
about to jump in. I thought you, I thought you give me that. I was about to dug it, man. I was like,
Go
the
ahead,
light,
bro. I got
the
you.
light bulb went off. So it's like, you know what social media does? It takes away small talk. Back in the day, small talk is all the way you used to start a conversation. So I was like, hey, how are you? But you
Mhm.
know, a lot of people nowadays hate the hey, how are you? But if you don't like the hey, how are you, there's no way for you to communicate at all. You just walk past each other like nothing. Like the simple greetings were what made conversations back in the day. That's how you would know people. That's how people know of you. Is by like
Right.
having the little, hey, how are you doing? And people would think the nicest and greatest people were just somebody who would just say what's up to everybody. Not like in depth, but just talking, like small
Mhm.
talk. But I think people don't value it now because when you're on the internet, you think over and over again about what you're gonna say. So like even if you're gonna say something wrong, you're gonna go back and delete it and type again. Or you're gonna think 3 or 4 times how to send a message. But in person, you can say whatever comes to your mind because that's all you got time to do.
And you overthink it. I've overthought so many messages sent to girls before. Like it's like when you start overthinking it, you start getting automated. You start sounding like a robot. I feel like if in person you said something stupid or awkward, she may laugh. Um, you said something. Dang. Uh, dang. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Um.
I got something else real quick.
Oh yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So it's like it all you have to be like meticulous the way you use social media or even social media dating sites, whatever. Like always, like my thing is, because I've online dated and I met my fiance online dating. And it was my thing was to get them off the internet as soon as possible to meet in person. Because it's like on the internet, it's weird. Like I think it's a weird conversation. I know in person we're gonna be able to have a good conversation. We're about to have a good time. You're gonna see me for who I am. I'm not taking like extravagant pictures or trying to pretend like I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff. Like there's people who really, take pictures on horses and act like they horseback riding and doing all this other stuff just to like attract people on social media, dating sites, whatever. But my thing was like let's get it back to the real world. So it's almost like I was getting the best of this world while still having the best of like the 90s and 2000s. So that's kind of how I did it.
That's dope. That's a dope idea, actually. I might have stole that if there wasn't a pandemic going on.
It's like, yo, I'm like, in the first week, I'm trying to get a date. Like, I don't want to keep talking to you about stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to know like your backstory. I just want to be like, okay, let's go get some meat. Because like, I don't want to waste time. Like, people waste months talking to random people on the internet dating, and it's like you're gonna meet them and be like, this is a waste of time, and you put so much energy to that, and you're gonna be mad. But if you like meet them in a week, and it's like, okay, I don't like you. It's like real dating. So you got to mix and match what works for you.
Yo, when you were talking about that small talk and how people don't like the small talk anymore because social media, like, it's so true. Because like more females, this is pertaining to females on social media, they don't even want the small talk. They just want you to get straight to the business. Like, dang. Know how you doing? Hey, you know, that's called beating around the bush. The small talk nowadays. Nowadays is beating around the bush. It's so crazy, bro. It's crazy how advanced teenagers have gotten over the years, and how younger and younger it's starting to get advanced. It's just crazy. Like, oh wait, yeah, what was you gonna say?
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay. Last thing on that. It's like like back in the day, like, do y'all remember when like High School Musical came out?
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Maybe. I don't know.
Back in those days, you were just trying to land a kiss at the end of the night. Nowadays, you trying to get to the hooter hotter on the first date, bro. On the first date, it's trash. It's trash. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.
And I think the thing is, I think dudes a lot of times were trying to get there early, but it might not. It wasn't happening as much. That's a fact.
Yeah. I think too, you know, I think it's kind of cool to just find out like the best communication method for somebody. Because I know like some people, you know, that I'm cool with, like they basically only do phone calls. Like they don't even like really text, you know? So it's like, if I reach out, you know, like to him, like, okay, you know, he appreciates a call, you know? So like I'll call. And then there may be like people who prefer texts because they don't feel like they have enough time, you know, like to sit down and have a conversation like they want, you know? So, you know, I'll text.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, completely fine. And then, you know, yeah, there are people who, you know, do better in person. Like they want to do lunch.
Yes.
They want to do lunch. And so I'm like, all right, you know, so when I get time to do lunch, like I'll, you know, be sure to, you know, meet up with him, you know? So I think that there are like still people out there, you know, who have kind of held on to, you know, the form of communication that's effective for them and maybe like a little bit old fashioned, you know, compared to what's out now. But they still out there. And like, I feel like when you meet those people, that's when it's really cool because they're not just doing it because it's the culture, it's the society at the time. They're doing it because they understand the value of it.
Yeah.
So when you meet somebody like that, that's really powerful because they've already, like, you know, that they're like, they've matured, like they've gone through the thought process, like, no, that didn't work out for me. I prefer this, even though I wasn't even like born at the time and there were landlines, or, you know, there wasn't social media. I'm still gonna choose, you know, to like talk to people in person or on the phone or text or whatever, you know? So it's like, sometimes I think it's just about getting somebody who's like-minded.
Right,
You know what I mean? It's like, there are just a lot more options out there now, you
Mhm.
know? And I don't think that these options are the devil,
Mhm.
you know? So we can just like, I think we just gotta make the best of it. You know, myself, I think that the kids are advanced nowadays. Um, you know, like just thinking about, you know, like my daughter and what she faces, you know, even on YouTube, like with the algorithm they use to send you videos, you know, based on what, you know, you viewed before. You know, so I was telling her the other day, I'm just like, look at these videos they sending you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because you've watched, you know, like so many like zany, crazy videos, keep on sending you that stuff. And then you kind of like, you're only getting exposed to one type of video, you know? And so I'm like, you have to consider like who's creating, like who's making a space for these algorithms to shoot you like the same type of video. You have to like be aware that this is happening behind the scenes. And then you have to like go against it. So even if you do see like all the same videos, you have to remember, okay, this is YouTube sending me all the same videos. And I know that like I need to watch other stuff besides these.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, the more that you do that, YouTube will shoot you like more diverse stuff, you know, because like you're basically like telling it like, hey, I'm a little more diverse than just these like, you know, stupid, zany, crazy videos. You know what I'm saying? So like again, it's not the devil. You know what I'm saying? You just have to understand what's going on behind the scenes, you know? And you know, you had mentioned earlier about you know, just kind of like seeing the final product but not knowing what went on before that. And I was talking about that today with my mama because you know, in that seminar I went to today um, about servant leadership, there was a question asked, and they were saying, you know, like who in your life or who do you know who exemplified characteristics of a good servant leader? So, you know, people be like, oh yeah, Martin Luther King. Didn't nobody say Tupac? What was up with that? I don't know what was going on. You know, I thought about my childhood choir director. And it's like, she was very diligent. Not only would she like, you know, teach us, you know, the songs and about music and all that stuff, but she was having to do stuff behind the scenes in order to perfect like her trade and what she was doing. You know, she had to like pick out the songs. So she had to like listen to songs and pick out, you know, like the parts in the songs to teach us, you know, to sing. She had to coordinate with her piano player, her drummer. She had to think about the audience that, you know, like this choir would be singing to and how they would receive the music. She had to call each member, you know, to tell them about rehearsal, you know, like when it would be, what day, where. She'd have to pick up people to go.
Wow.
And I just remember seeing all that. And it's like what I took away from it and what I mentioned today in this webinar was that she taught me what went on behind the scenes. It wasn't just about the performance or, you know, like the platform. It was about like what she did, you know, before the performance, you know, what she did in her life that prepared her to be able to, you know, have a choir like this. And that choir director was like, that was my mother. Like that was my mama. You know what I mean? And so I think that it's important to know that with everything that goes on in terms of human beings, there was like a whole trail before that. And that can apply to really like lots of things, you know. So, you know, when we talk about, you know, YouTube and social media, it's like, what was going on before social media that led up to it, being popular? What was going on in the founders of these companies' lives before they created these platforms? You know, kind of like, you know, we was talking earlier, y'all talking about Social Dilemma, I was talking about The Social Network. But, you know, The Social Network was about, you know, like Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, and how he got, you know, well, I guess it's about the exposing of how he created, you know, Facebook or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, after seeing that, that kind of made me rethink, you know, social media too, because I'm probably one of the hardest people to sell something to. Like there's really no sense in even like trying to sell me something. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's one of those things I have to like just see it for myself, and then I'll get it like if I want to, like in my time.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that that's how I am with social media too. It's like social media is trying to sell us something. You know what I mean? YouTube trying to sell us on something, and then it's like we buy into it. You know, like, oh, okay, this makes my life better. You know, and the question is like, does it really? You know what I'm saying?
I think we always fall in love with the easy part of the platforms because, like you said, it is easy to reach out to people, but it's hard to like use it in a way that'll benefit you. So I think like some of these tools, you know, if we actually, you know, take some more time to figure out how it's targeting us, take some more time to figure out how to optimize it for us, then it could actually, you know, do a lot for you. One thing I realized, you know, about Netflix, because Netflix is another thing that kind of tracks what you watch. You know what Netflix does? It shows you the same movie, but changes the thumbnail so you think it's a different movie. So, like, because on my uh, Netflix, I watch a lot of, you know, black movies. If there's, you know, black actors in it, I'm more likely to click in that. So I know the analytics tracks that. So on my profile, it'll show, you know, the black actor on the front, even if they got like a 10-minute role or something like that. But what Netflix doesn't know is at the same time I can go to, you know, my fiance's profile and see the same movie. Like I've already seen the name. I know I don't want to watch that. You know what I'm saying? So I think you gotta learn how it's trying to target you and play against that because you don't want to give them a pattern. So like same thing with like Facebook. Like I have some things are for like selling shoes, some things are for YouTube, something are for programming. I got some things for memes. It's like they're not gonna be able to drill down so I only see one thing. And that's one of the big problems that they were talking about in Social Dilemma is people drill down and they only focus in on one thing and they don't diversify. So that's why they get stuck on one track thinking, and that's what makes it so hard, you know, for us all to get along. Because if you only have one track and you can't look at the bigger picture, a lot of times you're just gonna be argumentative, or you're gonna be, you know, wanting to take violence as a first act because you can't effectively communicate.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because you keep on, you know, watching the same theme over and over again because that's what you're being presented with. It's almost like these people are telling you what you like, you know. weird to me. I mean, like that's weird. You know, like that's like, you know, that's kind of spooky, you know, because a lot of us are not, we're not like conscious of this. So then you got kids growing up not thinking about it. You know what I mean? So they're going around thinking, okay, you know, I grew up on YouTube, and YouTube is like feeding this stuff to them, telling them what they like, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it reinforces something. Hopefully it's good, you know, but when you talk about kids, kids don't always know like what's good for them. They don't understand what's good for them, you know. And I think that that's the part where it starts getting like that's not cool, you know. When people know that like kids are attracted to something, but then they continue to sell it to them, you know.
Like,
I see that, you know, like with my daughter, I'm just, you know, I tell her about it. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's the thing. Like we need to be telling our kids this. We need to be telling the next generations coming up about what's going on. Because honestly, we the ones seeing it. You know what I'm saying? It's like we've seen the evolution of technology. We've seen the evolution of social media. We know what these people are up to. Now, here's the thing. YouTube is fine. Honestly, out of all the social media, I would like to talk on YouTube more than the other ones, you know. And even like, you know, for people like watching this, you know, like send us some lines because it's like, you know, we we're doing this like for y'all. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're doing this for ourselves, but then at the same time, it's like we want to know like what our audience, you know, thinks or feels. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I was thinking earlier today just about like the inception, you know, like of this podcast. It's like, you know, you got Jared. It's like he was talking about, you know, just like his dating, you know, years ago, and it's like, you know, we were both going through, you know, like difficult times slash exciting times, times of like building life, you know, and we would just be on the metro, like, you know, subway or whatever, just like spitting, you know what I'm saying? Just like talking about stuff, you know, about life. And it's like people would just be like, you know, listening for real, you know, and like usually somebody would chime in, you know. And so that's the type of interaction that like I enjoy. Like people having like a conversation which includes like listening and then responding, you know, not like the bright lights, you know. And that's why it's like, you know, I'm not like concerned about, you know, a podcast starting out with like a few views because it's about the quality.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think like when it comes to you know, like media in America, it's the flashing lights. You know, I think we have talked about that before, but it's like it's the flashing lights. And so like, you know, we we don't advertise ourselves like that with flashing lights. You know, like, you know, look at us because like we're trying to get you addicted to this. You know what I'm saying? It's like it don't it don't take that for like what we want. You know what I mean? So I just like that mindset in general, where it's like motives are pure, you know. So like if that can be done, you know, using any type of media, so be it. You know what I'm saying? Like my mantra is kind of like whatever you do, do it for the Lord. So if that includes branding, if that includes posting on some type of social media, if it's like genuinely for the Lord and like not for like yourself or like, selfish self-promotion in some way that like has ulterior motives other than the good of like people, like that's another thing, you know. But I do think it's important to like really have like that physical interaction with somebody, and that includes like phone calls for real, because it's like you're feeling the vibrations of somebody else's voice in your ear. Like that's physical.
So does voice chat count?
You said voice track?
The voice chat, you can hold the voice recorder and you can send voice recordings to pretty much any.
Oh, well, it's delayed, but that kind of still counts.
So if somebody sends you one of those voice messages on social media, that's old school.
Yep.
Hey, this is up.
Right.
They got a social media for that, Clubhouse.
Literally.
This is true. Yeah, it's not even worth talking about. But that's it on that.
That's it on that, fam.